2025 had moments of celebration and heartbreak across the inland Northwest.
This is something that we don't train for. It's not something we expect. It's not something our firefighters should have to deal with.
The community came together to honor Coeur d'Alene firefighters killed and injured in an ambush, and to mourn 3 young sisters who lost their lives.
I truly hope that the legacy of the girls' lives lives in everyone's heart forever. They were incredible.
We watched as the man who killed 4 University of Idaho students admitted his guilt.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
And was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison.
He chose destruction. He chose evil. He feels nothing.
But 2025 also showed the resilience of the inland Northwest.
I see, people sitting in their seats and dishes and, coffee.
In the face of adversity, we chose to rebuild and move forward.
This year also paved the way for big changes.
It's been getting gradually worse
as our region continued to grow.
We welcomed new businesses, bringing food, fun, and new gathering places to the community.
2025 was the year the Spokane River ran dry, and a ride at Silverwood went viral for its perfect balance.
There was a lot that shaped our region this year.
Let's take a look back in this KREM 2 News Year in Review. Hello, and thank you for joining us as we revisit some of the top stories of the year on KREM 2 News. I'm Tim Pham.
And I'm Nicole Hernandez. Over the next hour, we're taking a look at the local stories that shaped the inland Northwest in 2025.
We start with a story that connected us in grief. On June 29th, firefighters responding to a brush fire on Canfield Mountain in Coeur d'Alene were ambushed by a gunman in what authorities described as an intentional attack. Battalion Chiefs John Morrison and Frank Harwood were killed in the attack, and engineer Dave Tisdall was seriously injured. Investigators believe the fire was likely set to draw firefighters into an ambush. The shooter was later found dead on the mountain.
This is something that we don't train for. It's not something we expect. It's not something our firefighters should have to deal with.
These firefighters did not have a chance.
In the days and weeks after, the community really came together to support the firefighters' families and their departments. Thousands of people lined streets and overpasses to show their respect, while emergency vehicles transported the fallen heroes from Spokane to Coeur d'Alene for memorial services. KREM 2 reporters Regan Gallo and Shannon Mowdy show us how the community remembered the fallen firefighters.
Many people took to the streets on Coeur d'Alene Lake Drive to say their final goodbyes to fallen Coeur d'Alene Fire Department Battalion Chief John Morrison Jr.
The entire world took notice. Everyone knows that when they call for help, the firefighters are coming. And when you attack firefighters, it wounds the security blanket that every individual has that help is coming.
Family, friends, supporters, and 2,000 firefighters from far and wide gathered in Coeur d'Alene to pay their respects to fallen Battalion Chief John Morrison Jr.
He was a dedicated battalion chief for over 20 years. He served the city with pride.
Many are remembering Morrison, cherishing their final moments with him, like Gabe Eckert, who worked alongside him.
One thing he challenged us all to do is, he said, be the firefighter that your mom, your son, your daughter, your friends think you are. And that's something we're going to carry with us the rest of our lives.
We are learning more about what a true leader Battalion Chief Frank Harwood was, as those who knew him and thousands more who didn't honor his life and sacrifice. Love, appreciation, and grief on display in Coeur d'Alene.
This has really struck us hard in the whole national community and world community.
Within his firehouse, Harwood's remembered as a quick wit and practical joker.
Setting up garbage cans of water on his door so when the calls come out, obviously his feet would get wet.
But Shay Vucinich is also struck by Harwood's leadership, a constant mentor as one of the highest commanders on the fire line.
He would come out to academies and he would do grueling workouts. He would come for those trainings with those probationary firefighters, and it wasn't because he had to.
Fire engineer Dave Tisdall was badly hurt in the attack. He spent months in the hospital with a collapsed lung, shattered ribs, and spinal swelling. In October, doctors let Tisdall leave the hospital. He is now in rehab in Colorado and is working to get movement back in his legs.
Even in the midst of tragic events, there was some good to be found. A sixth grader from Coeur d'Alene Charter Academy worked to turn tragedy into hope, planting a tree to honor the two firefighters who made the ultimate sacrifice.
This tree is a ginkgo biloba, and I really love it because its whole history and its resemblance is to resemble resilience and hope and growth.
She calls it Branches of Hope, a tribute to fallen Kootenai County Battalion Chief Frank Harwood and Coeur d'Alene Battalion Chief John Morrison, both killed in an ambush on Canfield Mountain.
When I heard about what happened on Canfield Mountain, I was so heartbroken, and I just something inside me was just I have to do something that just can help people remember them and never forget them.
For her school's annual Good Deeds project, sixth grader Eliana Brown wanted to do something lasting, something that would keep their memory alive.
And we just dug the hole and broke the roots and planted the tree in, and I was just so glad that it all worked out, and it just felt so heartwarming.
Her teacher, Tiffany Lenz, who oversees the Good Deeds program, says it's about teaching students the power of compassion.
When we start the process out, we ask them to think of what's a good deed that's been done for you or that you've witnessed for somebody else, and how do you think it made them feel? So the hope is they get to see the intrinsic value of helping others beyond just getting a reward or a prize for it.
Around 140 sixth graders from Coeur d'Alene Charter Academy took part this year. Each project, a small act, making the community a little brighter.
I really hope that this symbolizes that even though this horrid event happened, we can still grow in hope and never ever forget what they've done for us.
Eliana's good deed didn't go unnoticed. Members of the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department helped her plant the 8-foot tree and even presented her with a firefighting coin to thank her for her kindness.
It was actually really nice meeting them, and they were just thank you so much for doing this, and it means so much.
Beneath the tree, she painted her favorite Bible verse, a reminder that from loss there can still be hope.
I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory that is to be revealed to us. I chose this because I felt like it really represented what this tree should be all about, and just having hope in the future.
Branches of Hope now stands tall as a living tribute at Cherry Hill Park next to the Fallen Heroes Plaza. This story was a part of our Tell Me Something Good series, where we highlight people doing positive things and making a difference in the community. We want to tell more of these stories, so let us know if you know someone making a difference. Tell me something good by emailing me at good@krem.com. It's also there on your screen.
I have to ask, because this freeway's been the butt of many jokes with timeline-wise, how confident are we with that 2030 early area?
Well, it's the question we all want answered, right? We look at the progress and what's next for the North-South Freeway.
Plus, as we remember the Decker sisters, we also hear from the profiler who helped track down Travis Decker. Among the most tragic stories in 2025 was the murders of the Decker sisters.
On May 30th, Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia were reported missing. Their father, Travis Decker, did not bring them back from a custody visit.
Law enforcement found the girls dead a few days later at a campsite near Leavenworth. Travis Decker was gone, leaving his truck behind. As the community mourned the young girls, law enforcement turned their attention to finding Decker.
Investigators looked all over the inland Northwest for Decker for months. In late September, they finally found his remains near Leavenworth, not far from where he killed his daughters. A State Patrol profiler played a key role in tracking Decker down. In an exclusive interview with Eric Wilkinson from our Seattle sister station, she explained how she thinks Decker died and why he was so close to the crime scene.
As a forensic psychologist, it's Dr. Stacy Chiquette's job to unpack the most horrific of crimes.
Investigators don't call me for your standard kind of child abuse case.
Dr. Chiquette was on duty helping investigators working on the suffocation murders of the 3 Decker girls cope with their own emotional trauma when she quietly offered her services. Chiquette works in private practice and is one of only a handful of people in the world with her level of expertise. When she started looking at the file, she knew this case would be one of her most difficult.
It's like putting together a puzzle when you don't know what the picture is and you don't have all the pieces.
To piece that puzzle together, Dr. Chiquette examined Decker's books and journals, learning everything she could to put herself in the killer's head.
I want to know about their entire lives, and I also want to know about their secret lives. That's the only way to really do this work, is to become that person in every sense.
After more than 3 months and 7,000 square miles of fruitless searching, Chiquette led investigators to Decker's remains, just 3/4 of a mile from the crime scene. Chiquette says people in Decker's state of mind typically fight, flee, or freeze. It appears he chose the latter.
It is not uncommon for individuals that have a pretty significant mental health problem to experience that kind of freeze response where their mind kind of goes blank, they can't think through things. It's not uncommon for us to find them relatively close to where the crime occurred.
Of course, the constant question here is why? Why did Travis Decker do what he did? We asked those questions, and the doctor believes she has a pretty good idea, but there are some things she says she simply can't talk about. How do you go from having issues to murdering your 3 children? Why would he want to stay so close?
We don't want to say something that is speculative, but then the words are out there, and those words hurt people in real time.
There are certain things that are private. This is Grindstone Mountain.
For reasons she can't yet specify, Chiquette led search crews to a specific area on Grindstone Mountain.
She even guesstimated about what elevation we were looking at, and we really appreciate her insight.
Within a day, they found his remains along with a green t-shirt and shorts. There was no weapon, no suicide note. The Army Ranger with survival training appeared unprepared or unwilling to survive at all.
There are also ways that people can passively choose to die, whether that's, not eating or drinking, whether that's exposure to the elements without proper attire, but there's a lot of ways that people can do that.
Dr. Chiquette stresses only Travis Decker knows the answers to these questions. She believes the killings were likely not the result of any single event, rather the response to an alternate reality created by mental illness that none of us can fully comprehend.
I wish I knew. I wish I knew what he was thinking and feeling and experiencing.
While the Decker case is officially closed, the why will always haunt Dr. Stacy Chiquette.
It will never be done. It will follow the family and many other people for the rest of their lives. But at least having the closure of locating Decker is a small gift in the journey towards healing and closure.
It's not my life, it's a piece of everybody. 100 years of people coming here, that's what it is.
A fire destroyed decades of history in an iconic Spokane restaurant. Why they rebuilt, coming up.
And next, a major highway makeover in North Idaho. We take a closer look at how the I-90 expansion project could reshape travel between Post Falls and Coeur d'Alene.
Here on KREM 2 News, our Boomtown series tracks growth in the inland Northwest and how it impacts all of us who live here.
This past year brought updates on several big road projects, including work to widen I-90 in North Idaho. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley has a look at the plan.
Change is coming to the Post Falls Coeur d'Alene I-90 corridor to improve traffic flow. While news of more construction might not be easy to hear,
construction causes a lot of delays.
Some are willing to go with the flow if it means an improvement down the road.
I will go out of my way to avoid it. I'll go around it.
Sue Gardner and Jeff Ward.
Those are about 4-7.
Are longtime North Idaho residents. They've watched the Coeur d'Alene community grow and with it, more traffic.
It's been getting gradually worse. You go out there on I-90 and you get in an accident out there and the freeway gets completely shut down.
ITD's latest project will widen the I-90 corridor to 4 lanes in both directions, stretching from Highway 41 to Highway 95.
We need more infrastructure in this area. I wish it would have happened sooner. Just because for several years it's just been congested.
We have seen some significant progress on the North Spokane corridor this year. I caught up with WashDOT to ask the one question we all want answered.
Well, if you've driven by SCC anytime recently, you've noticed the bridge. It's kind of a bridge to nowhere right now, but we've got Ryan Overton with us here from WashDOT. So just to start, lane level, visualize it for us. Where does this go from here?
So you'll notice as you look kind of to the north, it does kind of, the apex is in a downward concave motion, and then it starts to work its way back up.
Okay.
So as we come across Mission Avenue, we've got Freya, Green Street right here. We're actually going over the top of it. So it's going to continue straight on its path to I-90 before it fans out in what we call our trumpet at the I-90 connection. So we're going to go over the top, roughly 50 to 55 feet in the air at its peak before it slowly starts to come back down and connect with I-90.
And the question we all want to know, do we have a timeline?
Yeah, so we are early 2030s is what we're saying right now. We are going to add on our next project, which is the stage 2 here in the next couple months. And then from there, the I-90 connection projects are all that we have left. And we've got 3 of them. So we're going to stage them kind of outward in. So that way, when we get to the inward portion, which is the I-90 connection with the North Spokane corridor, the work on the outside to the city streets, the ramps is all completed ahead of time, so it'll be an easier time for the contractor than just to connect the North Spokane corridor, and all of that will kick off in 2027.
Well, thank you so much, and hopefully that gives everyone a little bit of a better idea in a succinct way of where this thing goes right here behind us.
Hilliard is one of the neighborhoods most impacted by the north-south freeway.
As the area works through all the changes, they got some big news this past year. The Washington State Arts Commission officially designated the historic area as a creative district. Community leaders say the certification will help revitalize Hilliard, updating buildings, funding murals and art exhibits, and helping turn Hilliard into a destination.
It does highlight what we already have here, but it gives us so much more opportunity to attract more visitors and to really make the people here that already shine even more illuminated.
Hilliard is the first Spokane neighborhood to earn the title of a creative district.
Coming up, a major fire destroyed the main concession stand at Avista Stadium. We'll tell you when the team hopes to have it back open.
And it's the photo that had everyone asking, is this real? Experts explain why the Spokane River ran dry this past summer. Spokane's Skyway Cafe will reopen in 2026 after a fire forced it to close for nearly all of this past year. That fire in January gutted the kitchen and damaged much of the restaurant.
KREM 2's Laura Papetti caught up with the owner back in May to talk about why it was so important for them to rebuild.
The Skyway Cafe sign is a bit misleading.
It looks very nice. So everybody's like, what's up? Why aren't you open?
Skyway's owner, Sandra Melter, spends much of her days now on the phone.
You don't know how much we miss you.
And talking to hopeful clients that pull up to find out if the cafe is still closed. Back in January, the 100-year-old Skyway Cafe that was consistently filled with longtime customers and covered in aviation history.
If you listen, you can almost hear the chatter and yeah, it's all burnt and everything.
Was decimated by fire in the early morning hours on January 9th.
In here, we would just love to get our kitchen back. I see, you know, people sitting in their seats and dishes and, you know, coffee.
While Melter worries customers wait, wondering when the Skyway Cafe will once again be a community landing spot. Reporting in Spokane, Laura Papetti, KREM 2 News.
One of the most unforgettable images of the year came from Avista Stadium as flames and smoke rose high above the stadium. The fire started in September, just days after the Spokane Indians' final home game of the season. The flames destroyed the stadium's main concession stand. Firefighters ruled the fire accidental, saying it started in a space above a walk-in cooler. The team is in the process of rebuilding the concession stand and plans to reopen back sometime next season.
Coming up next in the Year in Review, the end of one of the biggest cases in the Northwest.
You're not worth the time, the effort to be remembered.
Families got their chance to speak directly to Brian Kohberger as a judge sentenced him for the Moscow murders.
And we take a closer look at this chaotic scene as a woman was dragged from a town hall in Coeur d'Alene.
Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Year in Review special. We're looking back at some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest in 2025. I'm Nicole Hernandez.
And I'm Tim Pham. This next story has dominated headlines for the past few years. The murders of 4 University of Idaho students.
In November of 2022, Madison Mogen, Kaylee Consalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were murdered. For more than 2.5 years, we waited for the trial against the man arrested for these murders. But turns out that trial never happened. In July, Brian Kohberger pleaded guilty to the murders.
Later that month, a judge sentenced him to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. At the hearing, families of the victims got their chance to speak directly to Kohberger.
Here's the report from KREM 2's Amanda Rowley on the day of the sentencing.
This hearing was unlike any other in this case so far. This was the chance for the families of the 4 victims to finally confront Kohberger, and they did not hold back. They poured their hearts out in the courtroom. And for the first time, we heard from the 2 surviving roommates about their deep emotional trauma and their determination to live life to the fullest to honor their friends. Here's some of those remarks.
Your patterns are predictable. Your motives are shallow. You are not profound. You're pathetic. You aren't special or deep, not mysterious or exceptional. Don't ever get it twisted again.
Speaking today is to help me find some sort of justice for them. And I will never let him take that from me. He may have taken so much from me, but he will never get to take my voice. He will never take the memories I had with him.
It helps us to know that he is in heaven now, freed from the trials of this earth. We, however, continue to live on without the grace and support of her presence.
The world's watching because of the kids, not because of you. Nobody cares about you. You're not worth the time, the effort to be remembered.
During the entire sentencing, Brian Kohberger kept a blank stare. He looked at the families as they read their statements, but showed no emotion. While we now know who committed the murder of 4 young lives taken too soon, we still may never know why. In a press conference following the hearing, investigators say they found no evidence pointing to Kohberger's motive.
We had every resource possible, and we worked that tirelessly. Both from everything from his side, but all the victims and all the members of the House from their side. So we have never, to this date, found a single connection between him and any of the 4 victims or the 2 surviving roommates.
I asked Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson about the outcome of this case.
The Mogen family at the plea hearing had mentioned saying that this is the best possible outcome. Just wondering, do you agree with that, or would you have liked to have seen a different outcome?
Well, I think we agree with the Mogen family. Our decision was that this is the best possible outcome, all things considered, and factoring into that the defendant was prepared to plead guilty as charged. Now, if that hadn't been a factor, we'd be picking a jury for trial starting right now.
He also acknowledged the plea deal happened quickly, saying the logistics of the upcoming trial played a factor.
With 10,000 prospective jurors being summoned in, the court staff making arrangements and preparing to process that part of the case dictated that if the case was going to resolve, it needed to resolve quickly.
This may close the legal chapter, but not the pain. The families say they'll never fully heal, but they are holding on to the light their loved ones left behind. Reporting in Boise, Amanda Rowley, back to you.
Coming up, protesters face off with Spokane police during a protest about ICE.
And later, from chicken in Spokane to swimming in Cheney, the Inland Northwest welcomed new food and new fun this past year.
Thank you for joining us for this KREM 2 News Year in Review special.
Right now, we want to look back on protests that led to a state of emergency in Spokane. Those protests were sparked over plans to move and deport some men who were in the U.S. seeking asylum. What started as a small protest outside the Spokane ICE facility grew and blocked roads for several hours. Police used pepper balls and smoke canisters to try and disperse the crowd. Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown declared an emergency and imposed a temporary curfew.
We believe in the right of peaceful protest, and the safety of our community members is always of the utmost importance.
9 people were arrested, including former Spokane City Council President Ben Stuckert. As of the middle of December, 5 of those arrested, including Stuckert, have pleaded guilty to federal conspiracy charges.
That there is video of security staff dragging a woman out of a town hall event in Coeur d'Alene. People around the world ended up seeing that video. It sparked lawsuits and investigations. KREM 2 Shannon Mowdy first explained what happened here just days after the town hall.
Chaos and confusion. As a North Idaho woman was dragged from a Kootenai County Legislative Town Hall Saturday, Tanya Koppich shot this video as she sat directly behind Dr. Teresa Borenpaul. They're part of the same Facebook group of liberal women who wanted the chance to address lawmakers.
Like, people are able to ask questions and see if their legislators are okay what's going on in Washington. Like, I thought it would be something more like that.
Instead, witnesses say dissenters to the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee's views were told to shut up. Laura Tennyson is often with Borenpaul at these town halls.
And every single one that we've been to, we have never been able to ask a question.
She admits they were heckling in an effort to get their voices heard.
There were people all over the auditorium, booing, cheering, yelling things out, some in support.
But she says when Borenpaul kept speaking out,
there's an opportunity for you to sound off.
Sheriff Bob Norris tried to pull her out. The sheriff was unavailable Monday, but spoke with KREM 2 News Saturday, saying attendees were warned not to disrupt.
Some that I saw, no less than 10 times they were asked to leave.
Borenpaul, once a Democratic State House candidate, declined to speak as she looks for an attorney, but she posted she never imagined her right to free speech and public assembly could be stripped so violently.
It sends a terrifying message. I couldn't believe that what I was seeing was happening in the United States of America.
Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
A lot, of course, has happened since then. In April, Borenpaul filed a tort claim against the security company and Sheriff Norris. Then in November, Idaho's Attorney General said he would not charge the sheriff. And after that, the courts dropped charges against the 4 security guards as well.
I never thought of as a kid we'd see a lot of these species be reintroduced or back on the landscape.
After decades away, bison are back on tribal land in eastern Washington. Coming up, how their return is restoring the land and reclaiming a cultural legacy.
And one of the most memorable pictures from this year. So we're going to go over why part of the Spokane River ran dry.
Here in eastern Washington, a new generation of bison is roaming on tribal lands. As part of our Environment Northwest team, Cody Proctor looked into how the reintroduction is not only helping the ecosystem, but also deep cultural connections.
For the first time in a very long time, a new generation takes its first steps on the Colville Confederated Tribes Reservation.
But to actually come out here and witness it, and they're just these tiny baby calves, it's kind of just makes your heart warm.
These bison calves are among the first born on the tribal land here.
They've been gone from here for at least a couple hundred years, 150 years, almost 200 years.
Go.
In 2023, the Colville tribes got the opportunity to introduce bison to their own lands. While bison weren't widespread across the inland Northwest, they hold a deep traditional meaning for the tribes here. The first 30 head of bison were released near Buffalo Lake.
It is kind of surreal in a sense to see, you know what I mean? Like, there's actually buffalo here now.
But they're more than a symbol. These bison are changing and improving the ecosystem.
There's somewhere between here and Swawilla.
Colville Tribes fish and wildlife biologist Sam Rushing monitors the bison, treating them as a wild herd.
A lot of other species have coexisted with bison for thousands of years.
As a keystone species, bison help maintain healthy ecosystems. Their grazing creates nesting grounds for birds and promotes plant diversity. Rushing also expects them to help water resources.
They don't tend to spend a lot of time right down in the creek bottoms like domestic cows will. You know, they'll come down for a drink of water, but then they'll move off and stay out of the creeks and streams.
Compared to cattle, bison protect creek and riverbanks that serve as critical habitat for fish and wildlife. But beyond the environmental support, the bison also reconnects the tribes to their cultural heritage.
At the moment, the current population for this bison herd is just over 45 members, but eventually the tribes would like to get that population up to a level they consider to be sustainable, meaning they can be harvested by tribal members.
In January, Fish and Wildlife hunted their first bull, part of sustainable management, with the meat set aside for ceremonial purposes.
We have this spiritual connection to all our foods, and nothing goes without any sort of respect and honoring.
So I have no doubt that we'll get to that level. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
What is that level?
We're still kind of determining that. So there needs to be kind of some assessment done on range conditions to see what the habitat can support.
Currently, the Colville Tribes Fish and Wildlife team's reviewing a draft of their bison management plan, laying the groundwork for both the future of the herd and the future of the tribes.
It's kind of healing to reintroduce new species, you know, for your spirit. It really helps that healing process, the trauma we've gone through, to see a lot of these back on the landscape.
For Environment Northwest, I'm Cody Proctor.
Take a look at this. In August, these pictures surprised a lot of people. The Spokane Riverkeeper said a stretch of the Spokane River ran dry in part of Spokane Valley. KREM 2's Shannon Mowdy checked out these dry spots and explained what happened.
I am just off Centennial Trail near Barker Road. This is where the Spokane Riverkeeper says it is seeing an urgent environmental situation it has never seen before. The waters of the Spokane River just gone. The Spokane River is a popular summertime spot, but usually not for rock climbing. Avista and Washington's Department of Ecology say this unusual site is due to several factors, including our hot, dry summer.
So while it's not necessarily what we would expect, it's also not, it's not without precedent.
He says 2007 and 2015 also saw lower river flows. But there are factors that impact the river that are different from years past.
There's a lot more people moving into our area. There's houses out on the Rathdrum Prairie that never existed 10 years ago.
That's increased the draw on water from the river and aquifer. The Riverkeeper says this section feeds the aquifer, saying right now there's not enough to also keep the river running.
Well, we can't talk about the river in 2025 and not talk about this adorable story.
Oh, so adorable. In February, a river otter was spotted enjoying the sun at Riverfront Park. Take a look. Photographer Melanie Williams took these photos as she watched the otter play and splash for about 45 minutes.
Yes, it is rare to see a river otter in the middle of downtown. Melanie told us in her many years as a photographer, she has never seen one of these here before.
It's always exciting when new businesses open here in the Inland Northwest. Coming up, we look at some of the big openings of the past year.
Maybe if I saw what you see, we wouldn't be so lonely.
And turned away at the door, but surprised in the parking lot. How one band made a local girls' night unforgettable.
Thank you for being with us for this KREM 2 News Year in Review special. I'm Tim Pham.
And I'm Nicole Hernandez. Before we wrap things up, we want to take a quick moment to say thank you to everybody who helped support our community through KREM Cares.
Absolutely. Here's a look at some of the good we accomplished. Tom's Turkey Drive returned this November for the 26th year. Thanks to the generosity of our viewers and corporate sponsors, we gave out 8,500 Thanksgiving meal boxes, feeding about 35,000 people across the inland Northwest.
And our Treats to Troops campaign gave hundreds of deployed service members from Fairchild Air Force some holiday cheer. We mailed out boxes with snacks, supplies, and a ton of handwritten thank you notes.
The KREM Cares Diaper Drive supplied hundreds of thousands of diapers and wipes to local families in need, ensuring babies stay warm, safe, and dry.
In our Big Book giveaway, we gave thousands of books out to local students. And there was so much more, so thank you again to everybody who supported KREM Cares throughout the year.
We love calling the inland Northwest home, and there was a lot to love locally this past year.
Absolutely. So here's a look at some of the new spots that generated some buzz. In May, Spokane's first permanent and year-round farmers market celebrated its grand opening. The Skill House Market at the Quarry works with more than 65 local farms and businesses. You can find everything from fresh foods to local art and unique gifts there.
In Cheney, a new aquatic center made waves this summer. After a long wait, water lovers finally got the chance to check out the new pools, along with water slides, a lazy river, and a ninja course. And local families got a new spot to hang out this summer. Dave & Buster's opened in Spokane Valley in August. The location has over 100 arcade games, food, drinks, and plenty of TVs for sports fans. Prior to opening, the store said it was looking to hire more than 160 employees.
Okay, so one of our local arcades had a huge honor. Jedi Alliance was recognized as one of the best arcades in the entire country. It beat out nearly every other arcade in Newsweek's Reader's Choice poll. It eventually came in at number 2. The winner number 1 was Next Level Pinball Museum in Hillsboro, Oregon. Okay, people are still lining up for this next one here. Raising Cane's opened its first Spokane location in September. On opening day, people camped out overnight as the restaurant gave away free canes for a year to the first 20 customers.
And here's something else to be excited about. Topgolf is moving forward with plans for its first location in the inland Northwest. In November, the company submitted a pre-development application with the city of Liberty Lake. Topgolf plans to build the new location off of I-90 on East Country Vista Drive. The spot would feature 70 climate-controlled bays. Yeah, so golfers can work on their swing all year round. Topgolf says the new location would create more than 200 jobs.
This next year, one of the inland Northwest's most iconic summer destinations will enter a new chapter. Silverwood is being sold to Herschen Family Entertainment. It's a major theme park operator known for Dollywood and some other main destinations. The park had been locally owned and operated since it opened in 1988. Park leaders say the sale is meant to preserve Silverwood's legacy while bringing in some new resources and experiences to the region. And you can't talk about Silverwood without talking about this viral moment, right? Another reason earlier in the year we talked about them. This video, shared on TikTok, shows riders on Silverwood's spin cycle ride suspended completely upside down. They stayed like that for more than 15 seconds. People had all sorts of theories about what was going on here. The park gave an explanation to us here, and they said basically this was not a ride malfunction. It just means basically when the weight of the riders is perfectly balanced, the ride can hold itself upright for a couple of seconds. Eventually, the ride went back to normal and riders were swinging again.
Before we wrap up our look back at 2025, you've got to check this out.
Oh my gosh. You guys are going to serenade her in the parking lot?
We are. I can try to show love and jealousy. 'Cause the less I know, the less I have to forgive you.
This is so cool. What you are watching is the band Rain's surprising a fan and her dad at their concert in Spokane.
So here's what happened. When the two of them got to the concert, they found out it was a 21 and over show. The daughter is just 12 years old, so she couldn't get in. But to their surprise, the venue's ticket attendant felt really bad about the situation and caught up with them before they left. And then the two were surprised by the actual band who came out into the parking lot and put on a little mini show for them. Adorable. The band's manager even surprised her with a swag bag, so she got a little souvenir to take home.
Well, thank you for joining us for this KREM 2 News Year in Review.
There sure was a ton that happened in 2025, so keep it here on KREM 2 News for more local coverage in the new year.
And if you don't yet have KREM 2 Plus, you should check it out. It's our free streaming channel featuring live newscasts and exclusive content like our Up with KREM weekend show. It's free to download and watch on your TV. I'm Tim Pham.
And I'm Nicole Hernandez. Thank you for watching.